Test, words. That should be working. Let's hope that the microphone is working because I think I have a little suspicion that the microphone not be too friendly to me right now, which I would call a little bit of a problem. Hello, everybody. Hope we're all doing incredibly well. Welcome to the stream in which we've got a little something to discuss. Because the Leeds United Twitter account has been a little bit mysterious, and it's not often that the Twitter account is a little bit mysterious, but it's decided to be. But we'll get into why that is in a couple of moments' time. But before we do so, if you're new here, subscribe. That'd be absolutely wonderful of you. Like the stream if you haven't yet as well, and just let's fill up the chat a little bit. Let's have a little bit of a natter just to check. Am I audible? If so, can we do the thing where we spam the number 1? Purely because I've got a little bit of a phobia to my microphone not working now. I've gotten a little bit too familiar with that because it becomes a problem. But whilst we wait to confirm that I am in fact an audible person right now, we need to talk a little bit about the Leeds United stuff, because the club's been a little bit sus, and I don't understand how and why. Thank you very much, John Buck. And I don't know what they're going to be doing, because they put out a tweet a little bit earlier today that had people all over the shop being like, well, what's going on? Because this isn't what Leeds United do. What Leeds United do is we do the safe thing, we do the boring thing. We don't do the thing where I've forgotten to put the monitor up. No, we don't do that, because that would be weird. Where has that gone? I like that you can also see the broken bit here. Free transfer, hopefully. We will have to find out. I'm going to have a little bit of discussion on what people are thinking is going to be in a couple of minutes' time. Add new source instead. Display 2. Probably be Dallas about being ambassador. I don't think so, but oh, hello. Primarily, I don't think so, because that doesn't make a huge amount of sense to me, because we already know that he's an ambassador of the club. It doesn't make sense to be like, Stuart Dallas is now a club ambassador, and it's like, well, we already know that, and you don't announce an announcement if the announcement is going to be nothing. So I don't think it's going to be the Dallas stuff. But what Leeds United said was, supporters are advised to be seated by 2:45 p.m. and at half-time tomorrow for 2 special announcements that will be made at Elland Road. Now, 4 candles. I think you can shout that all you like, but you have been proven to be a little bit wrong by Adam Underwood, considering that we are currently in a pretty strong position in the Premier League, being currently in 12th and limited by PSR, but that's fine. But what are all of our theories? Everyone shout your theories in the chat and we'll see what we're going with, and I'm a little bit curious, because I've got a couple of things that I'm going to jot down as my theses, because I had theses, by the way, not feces. They're very different things. And I'm going to sort of announce them at the end. So I'm going to go with... that. I'm going to go with that as my theories, because there's a couple of ideas that I would really like, but I think feel a little bit unlikely. And then I will show those at the end of the stream, and I will also, tomorrow, show those over on Big Up. Andy D says, I'll get seated early tomorrow then. Well, I would hope so. When it comes to James's theory, which is it's a Bamford send-off, I don't think that's going to be the case, because I don't think that that's an announcement. Unless the announcement is that, like, he is going to Getafe. That feels like a weird thing for Leeds United to do. That feels like something that you do over Twitter and not on a match day, because it feels like it could sort of overshadow things. And also, if it is your half-time announcement, I feel like that's a big risk, because when it comes to doing announcements at a game of football, there's sort of 45 minutes of stuff that could affect the way that people perceive things before everything gets started. So they did it for Click. They did, but Click, I don't know. That felt a bit different. But when it comes to the half-time one, it's a massive risk to take because you don't necessarily know how everyone is going to be feeling at that point in time. So if the fans are absolutely fuming, stupid. Because if we're 3-0 down against Wolves, then that's absolute madness to announce something that would be like. Also, was keeping Thorpe Arch for a little bit longer. That would feel like a bad idea. We're not going to find out until tomorrow. Why am I here? That is a good question. On a philosophical level, I mean, I guess that's about the meaning of life. So for religious people, you would be here because God willed it. For non-religious people, it comes down to what you think. For me, I think the reason to be here is to leave the world in a better place than you found it. At least in as many little ways as I can, but it's completely up to you. Comments. What do you think the meaning of life is? That's where we're going to take this. Bournemouth, not Wolves. You're right. Bournemouth, not Wolves. Although, if somehow we are losing 3-0 to Wolves tomorrow, I think fans would be equally livid. Running my tight pint time viewing. Just have earlier pints. It's fine. Jack's current theory is Red Bull Leeds, which is not the sort of direction that I'm going in, to be honest with you. But we'll run a poll. Right. And I'll start a poll. What do you think the announcement will be? To find your own meaning is the meaning of life, not necessarily reproduction. Oh, and be kind. I lean towards be kind. That's a good one. Because a lot of people have said free transfer, I'm going to put new signing on the list, and I'm going to put something else. Say below. There we go. So there's your poll. Is it going to be tribute to old managers? Is it going to be something stadium related? Is it going to be a new signing, or is it going to be something else? I've only listed like one of them, but if there's one that you think is more likely than another, then I think absolutely go for it. I've sort of hedged my bets with mine, which is fun. So I've gone for, with my first one, I've gone Wilkinson statue, because that just makes sense, because I think Howard Wilkinson being sort of a incredibly successful manager that doesn't have anything like representing him yet is something that Elland Road is fairly sorely missing, and it feels like the kind of thing that we will do now-ish. And my other thesis is that it's going to be something incredibly boring, that it's going to be something that isn't particularly fun, and it's going to be planning permission for building on the stadium, which feels like the kind of shit that if you're a corporate executive, you look at that and you go, the fans might want to hear about that at half-time. Maybe everyone's going to get excited for the fact that we've jumped through some regulatory hoops. And that seems to be what the majority of the chat believe is going to happen as well, with 56% of people so far, 53% of people so far, believing it's going to be something stadium-related, which is kind of fun. For the people who've said new signing, because I've seen that mentioned a couple of times in different places, who do you think we would be getting in that case? Because the free agent market is not friendly. It's not in a good place right now. So if I head over to Transfermarkt, I go free agent. I'm not entirely sure there's a ton here that I'm like, yeah, that'd be fantastic. So press F11, zoom in a little bit so it's a lot more visible. And go to monitor 2, there we go. So your options are Tomiyasu, who, yeah, sure, fair enough, decent player, but we don't particularly need someone that does the things that Tomiyasu does. Plus he's injured. Renan Lodi, who would be on ridiculous wages, who I don't think that we would sign. Also, we've got a left-back that we quite like. Reguilon, again, left-back. Josh De Silva, I don't know if we necessarily need another central midfielder. If it's Ziyech, I'm going to be livid because I think he just left Galatasaray. Lucas Ferreira is a decent player, but I don't really think he's worth the time. And a lot of these are just kind of like, maybe, but yeah. Also, is interesting, we wouldn't be able to register them anyway, because the registration is full. we've got all the players that we can fit, I think. Hold on, I'm going to double check that whilst I keep on yapping. Jesse's coming back. Don't you even threaten us with that, Michael. Is it a big boy Bamford bye-bye? It could be a big boy Bamford bye-bye, which would be interesting considering sort of the statement that he left with, and it feels like that'd be something that would have happened earlier in the season anyway, because we know he's gone. We have 24, don't we? Okay, so I'm going to bring up the page itself. Leeds United. No, in fact, I'll just go Premier League. Squad registration 25-26. And go to the squad lists. And if I bop an F11 on, there we go. So, over to monitor 2. So, Aronson, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is Nonto. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I don't think that we can take anyone off the registration list until January, because they are the registered players that we've got at the minute. So I don't see free transfer realistically being what happens. Like, I wouldn't hate it. I'd be like, oh, that's an interesting move to make, especially if it's for like a promising young player. But Melier must have been added as the 25th. 4 goalkeepers registered as rough. It is, but it kind of made sense with Perry being out. Because if you trust Melier more than you do Cairns, because Cairns hasn't really had much experience in such a long time, then it kind of adds up. Like, I don't mind our choice of goalkeeper going Perry, Darlow, Melier, Cairns, because I would just consistently put Melier above Cairns given context. But could the announcement be a new contract for Ampadu? Sorry if someone already said this, just joining the stream. That's not a bad shout. That's not an awful call. Genuinely, all things considered, it being an Ampadu contract kind of would make a little bit of sense, but I don't know. When is this happening? This is happening 15 minutes before kickoff and then during half-time, which, when you think about it, means that the idea of it being a contract extension is probably thrown out the window, because your players that are on the pitch are going to be focused on getting warmed up and they're not going to want to faff about with things. Like, I know from a personal perspective, when it comes to arranging a game of football and having various media things to do at different points in the day, that's impossible, because when people are doing a warm-up, even when it's for a charity match, they are very focused on the warm-up and you're unable to drag them in any other direction, which is a nightmare. It's rough. Early Harry Gray contract announcement. He doesn't have choice. He does have a choice of any Prem team, but so big deal. I don't think we'd be allowed. So if I just Harry Gray birthday is the 8th of October. So I don't think we'd be allowed to announce anything like that until it was actually his birthday, because whilst in theory you could probably say, yeah, Harry Gray signing an extension on his contract, it feels like a little bit of a breach of contract law to say, we know that he can't sign a contract for another couple of weeks, but we've got an agreement in principle, which feels a little bit not legal. Wouldn't hate it. I would quite like us to sort that contract as soon as feasibly possible, please, Leeds United. But... One second. Since it's an in-stadium announcement, I think it's tacos being offered or B-days being installed. No, can you imagine B-days at Elland Road? Can you imagine the chaos that would cause within like 15 minutes? That'd be absolute madness. There are a couple of people online who are having their own little theories around things as well, which I think is quite interesting. With Mordy at the club, I don't think it would be an issue. It would, because he's not allowed to enter a proper professional agreement until his birthday. And for Leeds United to announce that he had done so prior to his birthday is effectively him signing that contract before his birthday, which means that that would be, I believe, a little bit illegal. And I think the club not doing that would make sense. Could it be Cooper signing as a coach for the 21s? I don't hate that, to be honest with you. I think Coop's rocking up and going, haha, I'm here to help, would be quite nice. Maybe as like, not even just as an under-21s coach, but playing in the 21s. But then again, then you've got both of your centre-back positions being former players, Coops and Howson. It's not going to be Red Bull Leeds. That can't happen. Like, legally, it cannot happen. I know a lot of people are spooked about that, but that's not going to be a problem. As much as a bunch of people are like, oh, Red Bull are going to ruin anything. No, it's fine. Only a 2-year contract until he's 18. Yeah, I think the idea is going to be on his birthday, signs a 2-year contract, give it another year, sign an extended contract with better personal terms. Unless there's a clause in that 2-year contract that would allow us to extend it ourselves, I guess, which would make it significantly easier. But I don't know whether that is legal in the real world. All I know is that's something that I've used in Football Manager to trap people. I think another Grow of Heat map. I would genuinely adore the shithousery if it was a Grow of Heat map. That would be hilarious. I'd love it so much. Can't wait to hear the Harry Gray announcement tomorrow. If it is the Harry Gray announcement, I will be genuinely surprised. Free beers in the concourse, courtesy of Jack Harrison. I feel like if that was a thing that people could do, they would have done it before. It feels a bit based on like the drinking regulations around football stadiums. That one doesn't seem doable. Again, it's in the category of it'd be nice and cool, but I don't think it's a thing that can really happen. I think a potential fun approach to it would be if it wasn't just the Wilkinson statue, but if they were like pre-match, by the way, we're doing a Howard Wilkinson statue, and then at half-time they were like, by the way, number 2, we're doing a Bielsa statue. I think that'd be quite fun. I think that'd be a little bit weird and wonderful, but it doesn't seem like something that would realistically be the case. Now I'm thinking, do we have any players at the club that might be retiring? Maybe. No, I don't think so. I couldn't see like a Kane's retiring. That's a little bit soon for him. And I think if it's a retirement, you probably give them a little bit more flexibility on it. Unless it's Bamford retiring and like taking up a role on LUTV, and it turns out that he is in fact on commentary with Bryn tomorrow. That'd be quite fun. Sorry, I only just joined. What do you think it is, Joe? I have gone with Wilkinson statue and planning permission for building on the stadium expansion is my theory. Because I think if you are going to do Wilkinson and Bielsa, one, I don't think Bielsa would agree to do so whilst he's still working in football, because he seems like a sort of humble guy. He doesn't seem like he's someone that wants to be statued, but maybe. And I think if you're going to announce one, well, if you're going to announce 2 statues, you announce them at the same time, which would make sense. Maybe something about the South Stand. That feels more press release territory, to be honest with you. That feels a little bit conversation that you have with like corporate documentation. If it, as in like away fans, maybe that could make a little bit of sense. I think bottom of the West just makes a bit of sense for. No, but then again, you need to get them in the West Stand. No, bottom of East, sorry. But then again, you need to get them in the East Stand. I think it's about where you can actually realistically hold them. Maybe the North? But then again, you don't want to give them the Cop. Renaming a stand in honour of legends. We've kind of done that, though, is the issue. So if I just... Leeds United stand names. Elland Road has 4 stands. The Don Revie stand, known as the Cop, which is the north. The Jack Charlton, which is the east. Norman Hunter, which is the south. And John Charles, which is the west. Which... I don't realistically think that you can rename any of those, to be honest with you, because they've got names. Bremner, I think, is realistically already sort of re-embodied in the form of the statue. Like, the fact that that is where everyone assembles after a match day to meet with friends, or before a match to meet up with people that they like to sit next to and all that kind of stuff. I don't think Bremner would realistically get anything further. The Parag Concourse. Ah, perfect. I love it. Why not? The Victor Orta Toilets would be a quite fun one. The Radrazani, I don't know, car park. Because he allowed other clubs to drive all over him, didn't he? Hey! Perfect. Content Creator Cup to be played annually at Elland Road as from 2026. Imagine if I could do that. No, I genuinely, I don't know if I'm going to be doing one this year anyway, because I don't think I've got the mental capacity to do that and have a newborn child at the same time. That one feels like it's a little bit of a psychological stretch that would hurt the brain a little bit. The Victor Orta bin. You see, that's why I went with toilet. But, like, being able to play that Island Road would be fantastic, but genuinely I don't think it's viable. It's one of those where, because I know they do the whole pay a little bit of money and you can play at Elland Road kind of thing. It'd need to be a situation of, I will need to find a sponsor that is able to book out every single person's worth of one of the time slots there, which doesn't really feel like that's a viable use of money that could be going to charity, to be honest with you. War Piglet says, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. Indeed, the notification bell is very, very useful, actually, because a lot of YouTube stuff just isn't getting pushed out. And if you are notified immediately about shit, then that fixes that problem a little bit, which I'm a fan of. I'm a fan of problems going away and being resolved and fixed. I'm going to end the poll because I recognise that I'm a bit good at not ending polls, and the majority of people being, well, not the majority, the plurality of people, there we go, thank you, Election Brain, believe that it's going to be something stadium related at 42%, followed by tribute to old managers at 29%, followed by something else, which is mentioned in chat. Then again, I should have said, like, can you put your suggestion in brackets if you've answered that in the poll, just so we can get a better idea. And then new signing is 10%. I'm less certain on new signing now, to be honest. I'll go with commencement date for building work. That's not a bad shout, but, and it's a big but, and I cannot lie, you other mothers can't deny when a next line. What's the next line? You get sprung, but I don't know what's before that, and I'm going to stop now. When it comes to the commencement date stuff, we already have an idea of that from the investment deck, from the original sort of documentation that came out that went to the City Council. And that is effectively going to be next summer anyway. There's not really that much flexibility in that, and I don't think that we'd start mid-season. I think the idea is to do so in the summer next year. It might be a commencement-specific date, but that'd feel like a little bit of a waste of an announcement. But I think the idea is get as much done over the summer next year as possible, which will then mean that we don't have to drop the capacity for the actual season when it kicks in. If we give ourselves a nice 3 months, because let's be honest, pre-season stuff is probably going to be elsewhere. Pre-season stuff is going to be an international tour, wherever the Premier League sort of pre-season thing is, if we get invited, of course. But I think, genuinely, I think something like America would make a little bit of sense, because a hell of a lot of players are going to be over there anyway. So I can see it just being the majority of the early work is done next summer, and that clears out as much as we can. Contract for Ampadu. I don't mind the idea of a contract for Ampadu, and I think it makes a little bit of sense. But from a logistics perspective, to drag him out of the warm-up and say, you've got a bit of press to do right now, by the way, to sort of look at some contracty things, that feels a little bit unlikely. It feels like it's getting too close to affecting the pre-season prep. Not pre-season, the pre-match prep. Because as Danny Burke manager of the Yorkshire Roses would be happy to agree with, you don't mess with the pre-match. Leeds to announce financials and have more PSL wiggle room in January. No, that would be a bad idea. From a purely strategic standpoint, if they were to approach things and say, look, we've got this much money to spend in January, then immediately any club that is a selling club that Leeds have an interest in a player of is just going to go, well, why would we sell to you for this sum of money when you have done a public announcement saying that you can spend this sum of money? And it feels like it's effectively taking the legs out from under ourselves, which I would generally call a little bit of a problem in transfer negotiations. Sounds like a Leeds thing to do. It sounds like a Leeds thing to do via the press rather than just directly in Elland Road. Matty is another person that thinks that Liam Cooper is potentially coming back in a coaching role, which wouldn't be a bad idea. He's someone that has a lot of experience at the club. Maybe he's like an ambassador as well. I know that the reason his move to Sheffield Wednesday didn't pan out was... what was it? It was because they could only sign a certain number of players on free transfers because they were under the embargo. And because Sheffield Wednesday had signed X number of players... Cooper was a little bit further down the queue. He wasn't able to go in the end. Rafinha coming to watch a game whilst he's injured. Oh, that would be beautiful. Is Rafinha injured? Rafinha better not be injured. I say I've got no investment in Rafinha at the moment, but... no. He's out for 3 weeks with a thigh issue. Devastating. They need to back Parker in January now after the start, he said. I think that depends on where we are in January. Because if we're in a reasonably strong position in January, if we're top half of the table and we've put a big gap between us and the bottom three, I think the 49ers look at that and go, they're not going to fucking catch us. So it's fine and we'll just invest more in the summer. Because I think that makes a little bit of sense. If we are genuinely at risk, then I think they will invest, but I don't realistically see them throwing money at a problem that doesn't exist. On the we should have signed Vardy, which is a wild take, by the way, which is nuts because the guy is 38 at the moment, and within the season will be 39 years old. He went to Cremonese in Serie A, which is not a good side. In the slightest. If I go to Cremonese's FB ref page, they came 4th in Serie B last season, and Jamie Vardy has had, so far, 32 minutes of football. Premiership proven, though. You know who else is Premiership proven? Morten Gamst Pedersen. However, he's probably about 50 years old at this point. So I'm going to say we probably don't sign him. He's not going to be the player that he was. And the same applies for Jamie Vardy, who is now getting on a bit. And I would say definitely not the kind of age territory that we necessarily need. When it comes to any free agents that are worthwhile, I would say probably not. But we also have the issue of we can't actually sign anyone over the age of 21 and register for them for the squad. Because we have 25 registered players at the minute, and I don't believe you can unregister anyone. In fact, if I go Premier League registration rules, unregistering players. Yeah, so Premier League clubs cannot unilaterally unregister a player, but must instead manage the 25-man squad by making changes during designated transfer windows. And this isn't one of those. So we could add someone. Age is a number, yeah, but it's also a process that ruins. And the fact that you are equating Jamie Vardy to Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi is honestly a little bit laughable. But I'm not going to actually laugh because I don't hugely have the energy for that right now because work and shit is always fun. They're very different players, Lees. 1 second. So I've had my question on what people think is going to happen, and people sort of think it's going to be stadium-y stuff. I'm going to ask you in the chat to put what you think the detail is going to be. So rather than just something stadium-y, is it going to be on this date, the construction will begin? Is it going to be, actually, we've now got some plans for the South Stand? Is it going to be, actually, the away fans not going in the South, they're going in the East Upper? Which, I will be honest, I kind of prefer. I kind of like the East Upper for the away fans, because whilst they're next to like the nice posh squishy seats, it kind of frees up the bottom bowl for home fans. Anyway, planning permission. Planning permission isn't a bad shout, to be honest. I think, but then again, what was the timeline? Let's have a Google. Elland Road construction planning permission. Lee, if you continue, I'm genuinely going to block the word Vardy from the chat. Right, let's have a look. Planning application submit for Elland Road expansion. But when is the decision due? Because the application was in July. Right, a final decision is now expected to be made within approximately 13 weeks. This was on the 8th of July. So let's hop over to the calendar and count, shall we? Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're 11 weeks on. Is it a bit early? It feels a bit early for our hopes to be risen up around it being, by the way, we've got planning permission. But then again, if we can get it done a couple of weeks early, then that's not necessarily bad. You know, I'm gonna lock that in. My theory on planning permission for the building, because I think that 11 weeks is close enough to 13 for that to be the case. Beyond that, I think the other one is probably Wilkinson related. That might be the half-time one, because that is going to be taken positively no matter what, whereas the pre-match one, you don't need a certain, like, result in the first half. Just an opinion, the man who thinks Melia will do the magic redemption. I made a joke about Melier redemption arc in someone else's stream 3 days ago, and the fact you've held on to that is genuinely incredible. I don't believe there will be a Melier redemption. I think it's going to be Carl Darlow. I think if Darlow gets injured, then it sort of has to be Melier, because Cairns isn't the player that's making the bench right now, but the moment Perry is fit again, Melier is dropped out of the squad like that and leaves the club in January. That's not a magic redemption. That's the real world. And that's what I actually think, rather than in terms of memes, because sometimes I make jokes. New famous rich stakeholders being announced. Again, that feels a bit more press release than it does actual substance, if that makes sense. That feels a little bit more something that you do on the web, like, hold on. Because if it was going to be a new really, really rich investor, I think you do this. I think you do Leeds United receive investment from name or group, and then you do a short article of this is what's going to be happening with it as an alternative to doing it in front of everyone. Because when it comes to Elland Road, and this isn't going to be the view, because obviously this doesn't exist yet, but when you're looking at a South Stand over here that is going to be kind of like, yeah, we're working class boys and we like to attend the football every weekend. And the extent of the announcement that they've hyped up the day before on Twitter is another rich man has decided that he wants a part of Leeds United. Everyone's response is going to be, fuck off. And that's not really the tone that you want to set for me. So I don't see it being that. Wasn't there talk about investments the other week? There was talk about a pitch deck that had leaked out. So it was a pitch deck that was put forward before the start of the season. So they got back at this point, they put out this pitch deck, they got the investment, and then a couple of months later, which is now, that pitch deck leaked to some journalists, and everyone then proceeded to talk about it a little bit. which is where we're at the moment. So it's not. I don't think it's going to be new investment because from a PR perspective, that is dreadful, and from a impressing your investors perspective, that is also not very good. That effectively just says, by the way, guys, the fans already hate you, which is a big own goal, to be honest with you. So I'm on one of them. I am definitely leaning towards the planning permission shout. The other, I think, is probably going to be more Wilkinson-y, maybe statue. But then again, where do you put it? Because if I go to Google Maps and I go to Elland Road, and I pop on the old F11 and I go to Street View and we go to here. Right. So we know what Elland Road looks like because I'm assuming the majority of people here have been there at some point. My question to you is, you got Billy up here. Where do you put a Wilkinson statue? Maybe down this sort of area because there's a little bit of sort of open room here. But then again, this is just paved. It's not screaming out ideal for a statue, especially when you've got the nice centenary like stones up this zone. Down here, you've just got pavement. And I think if you were to say, well, we're going to open it up to more centenary stone bits, like that'd be nice. But then in the middle, over here, you've still got tarmac. So either they're feeling very, very confident and they think they can centenary stone all the way down, which they're not going to also because there's a car park here and you don't want to park people up on there. But what do you do? Unless I like this idea from Fernie with Don over here. There's a chance not just to move Don up a little bit, but there's a chance to maybe expand this. Take out a tree, doesn't matter too much. And then you whack Wilkinson there. And maybe you also whack Bielsa there. Because they are then watching over the club, which I think is a quite nice little touch. I like that idea. Cole Rogan announced a new badge that always goes down well. Oh, imagine. No, imagine, right? Not a new badge. Instead, they announce a new merch line from Adidas. Imagine that's what they go for. Imagine how angry people would be in response to that. Just being like, by the way, we've got new hoodies that cost £130 each. Oh, the fury in the ground would be something to witness. That'd be spectacular. Silly to put a statue up before the refurbishment's complete. I don't know if it is, though. Because this side isn't going to get touched. I've just realised I've moved. This side isn't getting touched. So I think if you're going to go Don, Wilkinson, Bielsa, then that's fine, unless you say we're doing the statues on the other side. So you have Reeve over here, and then you know what we're going to do? We're going to go for a walk. We're going to walk around the south stand. And then you say, hello away fans, which I still don't understand how that is necessarily going to work. So is it going to be a case of you use... No, because that's not an entrance, that's an exit. How are you getting them in, the south stand? Unless you're using this boy for your away fans. No, yeah, that makes sense, because it says away fans on it. Okay, that adds up a little bit. But unless you're saying in your new expanded version of the west stand, you put some more statues over here. But then you've got them split up. Does Bielsa really justify a statue? I genuinely think yes. And I think yes because it wasn't just a competitive impact that he had on the club. I think it was like a cultural impact that he had on the club. It wasn't just a case of he came and we did quite well, which you could argue is the case with Daniel Farke. It was he came and he made a hell of a lot of people fall back in love with Leeds United, which was a mess of a club. And he set the foundations for what has come since. And if he's able to sort of retain that, then I think absolutely he'd be worth it. Because very, very positive impact on the club. And it doesn't matter that it wasn't for years and years and years, but... gotta be something with a Wilco statue, but why not just do a presser? Why make people wait? I think it will be because they will have agreed to do it at some point during the week, or like they'll have come to a final agreement very, very recently, and they'll see that there's a home match coming up, and they'll go, no, you know what, this is quite nice. Let's go for it. Let's have a chat. I think it's fucking horribly harsh to say that Bielsa scorched the earth, considering that in the season that we went down, I don't think Bielsa had us in the relegation zone at any point. So I think to say that he scorched the earth is a little bit of a joke, to be honest with you. Especially considering when it came to Marsh, we didn't exactly do beautiful like performances and stuff. Definitely need a Bielsa statue. Don's statue will be moved after refurbishment to a more prominent spot confirmed by a board member. Maybe it'll be something like that then. Maybe it'll be like a sort of managersy spot where the more iconic of them go over in the West Stand, or just like look over some bits, and that'd be quite nice. I don't know. Pablo role announcement, I think. I don't know what we would get Pablo to do, to be completely honest. And currently I think he's managing Valencia. And if I hop open SofaScore, and I go to tomorrow. Okay, to be fair, they're not playing on the day that we are playing, or the day after. Oh, Valencia are playing on Monday. No, but it still feels unlikely. What might a double statue of Vulcan the Chief? Maybe. I don't know. It feels like one of them's going to be statuey and one of them's going to be construction-y. That feels like something that makes a little bit of sense to me, and if we were to go in another direction, I'd be a little bit surprised. O'Leary returning as an ambassador. Yeah, maybe. But then again, I think if you've announced Dallas as an ambassador via tweet, it feels a bit weird to be announcing other people as an ambassador in other ways, because it feels a bit like, well, what did Dallas do wrong? Why is he not? Why's Dallas not got the on-pitch announcement, right? Like, everyone loves Stuart Dallas, so why are we not like showing him off a little bit? You know, that's where it's a little bit complex. Be interested now in what? Sorry, what? I'm going to view a thing. Okay. Can't be in the stadium. Thank you for letting me know. A very, very useful update. Thank you. Bielsa statue, maybe. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate something Wilkinson-y, something Bielsa-y, and I think something stadium-ish, but I don't believe it can be on the planning permission side, having just seen a thing, which is effectively that we're not at that stage yet, which is a bit of a shame, but I don't know. Radaby needs a role at Leeds if he hasn't already. I think he might. Radaby was in April appointed as Leeds' first ever global ambassador, so that helps. Yeah, he already is an ambassador, so it's not going to be that. It's hard to say, but I'm going to end the stream in a couple of minutes. Before I do, one, I'd massively appreciate if you could pop a like on the stream. That'd be fantastic. Like, genuinely very much helps everything. Two, shout what your wildest possible take is on what this could be. Because I think there's quite a lot of things, and I think that a lot of what I've been saying has been sort of staying in the box. How about we leap out of the box? How about we say something completely weird and nuts that it could, in theory, be, but probably won't be. But if you get it right, then you get to absolutely flex it over the members of this chat. So, for example, I will say it's an announcement that Liam Cooper is not only signing as an under-21s coach, but he will be playing for the under-21s team. Lucas the Copcat to be renamed. No, don't do that. No. don't touch Lucas. Rotating the ground 90 degrees. I like the madness. That's fun. I'm not sure on the likelihood. Re-sign Bamford. Maybe a stretch, considering we can't register him. Bamford as set-piece coach. That is the kind of insanity that we're looking for. I like it. Red Bull taking over. They wouldn't do that on a match day. That screams press release, because if you then get a stadium of fans booing, that's not good for the PR. That's a little bit of a PR nightmare. Can't see that one going particularly well. But let's have your mad theories, and we'll see what people are feeling. 1 second. I wish QSI took over. I wish that our football club wasn't owned by an oil state that doesn't care for human rights, is where I'm going to go. Moving the away fans back to the cheese wedge. I don't think that helps either. I'll be honest. I think that just makes the cheese wedge people angry. I don't know. I don't think there's many places that you could realistically put the away fans that wouldn't piss some people off, other than like the corner of the east stand upper. Has to be something small enough that it's not worth leaking. That's true as well. But then again, there's lots of things that don't leak. Give the club to the fans. If you have a hell of a lot of money, then I'm sure you could get in touch with 49ers Enterprises and say, can I buy a chunk? But until that point, I don't think they're going to take it. Introducing a player to the fans, any decent praise in the market. The only players that we could realistically sign are under the age of 21, because we wouldn't be able to register anyone else. Because the Premier League registration rules mean that we can't unregister anyone, and we already have the maximum of 25 people registered at the club. So it couldn't be that. Bamford announces finishing coach. I like your thinking. I like the thoughts. It's good. 49ers play NFL games at Elland Road. Ooh. See, I don't hate it, because it's quite good for the money. Club makes a big chunk of cash. We're not signing Max Dowman. It'd be nice. It's not happening. In fact, right, NFL field size. And then football pitch size. To be fair, you can fit an NFL pitch on a football pitch. So maybe. I like that theory. That'd be fun. Yamal signing a pre-contract. Oh, the dream. Surely NFL games will happen when the stadium's finished. The issue with that is it's not the teams themselves that decide where they play. That is primarily decided by the league itself. Because if I remember right, above everything else, the NFL is like the body. Like when players sign a contract, they sign a contract with the NFL. They don't sign it with a specific team for the most part. They sign a contract with the NFL for a set amount of money to play for this team. So, by contrast with football, you sign a contract with the club. The FA, they don't have any form of contract with the player apart from like the basic registration stuff, which means that the team themselves don't decide where they play. That's an NFL decision, so they need Central NFL to agree to play in Leeds, which I think is a little bit of a difficult one, to be honest with you. It'd be nice. I think that'd be quite fun, but no, we can change the Copcat. It'd be like renaming Elland Road Red Bull Stadium. No, right, okay. That's what we'll go with. The mascot is going to change from Lucas the Copcat to Ryan the Red Bull. There we go. And if that actually happens now, then everyone that is currently in the chat needs to become a channel member, because I am clearly clairvoyant and it is worth sticking around for as long as possible. Copcat is now Cop Bull. No, it's Ryan the Red Bull. They're not going to do that, Dr. Cox. Red Bull changed their name to Leeds. That way round would be a shocker. That would be incredible. No. Whoa. when I say that I'm going to make a deal with you guys, what I mean is I'm going to tell you guys to do a thing, and I'm going to hope that it happens. It probably won't, but there's a little bit of hope in there, which is fine. We can't call it that. We could do. You never know. Ryan the Red Bull. It kind of works. And the best bit is the entire mascot is just red, which definitely wouldn't make everyone incredibly angry. Lennon and Cooper, John Farker stuff. I don't think that's realistically worth a sort of pre-match announcement thing, to be honest. And I think that wouldn't be two separate announcements. I think that's one, which throws me a bit. I don't know. It's all a bit complex. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the stream around there because I've been going for a little bit of a while and I have work in about an hour and I need to eat some food. So, hope you enjoyed. If you did, I would massively appreciate if you could pop a like on the stream, subscribe if you haven't yet. It's the one button down there, and apparently YouTube has been unsubscribing people, which is always fun. So if that's happened to you, then that would be nice if you could fix that. If it hasn't happened to you and you're still not subscribed, there's a cool gang of people right here who all are. Are you uncool? Is that what's happening? Are you not a cool person? Are you not cool enough to have subscribed? I think you gotta press the button down there, and everyone's gonna think you're really, really cool and part of the gang. Ain't that right, chat? Back me up here, guys. Please, please, please. I need the support. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Hope you all enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all the fun stuff. And head over to, if I can find the thing. I can't find the thing. Where's the thing gone? Oh, God. There it is. You can vote for the Leeds United View for Best Premier League Podcast at the Football Content Awards, and also as, I believe, Premier League Club Content Creator of the Year, which would be absolutely huge for Jer and also me, because I've been contributing over there. So if you could do that, that'd be absolutely beautiful. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you later. Toodaloo. I wonder how many of you are still here. I don't know. What if I did a secret stream now and just everyone's already left? That'd be quite fun. Anyway, see you later, everyone.